So we are two things. Number one, we are creatures of habit. And by habit, I don't mean just behavior, I mean actually neural patterns. The vast majority of what we do on autopilot. You get in the car, you drive to the office, mind is somewhere totally else. You have no idea how you got there. But you've done it so many times that the body is actually able to drive you to the office, back to the house, to the grocery store. And you have no recollection of having done it. You've been on autopilot. People do all sorts of things on autopilot, right? We have habits. Some people, twirl their hair, people bite their nose, people crack their fingernail, whatever it may be. But it's not that you decide, now I am going to bite my fingernail, or now I'm going to twirl my hair, or now I'm going to crack my fingerknuckles. Because we've done it so many times, if you're someone who has these habits, they've laid into neural networks that have become automatic. Now, the same thing happens actually emotionally. We have ways of reacting. Because not everyone gets angry in the same way or at the same thing. But we all tend to get angry the same way as ourselves over and over. So if I'm a sulker, that's going to be my MO. I sulk. I withdraw, I take it in, I ignore you. Maybe I slam a door. I'm passive aggressive. Whenever I get angry, that becomes my pattern. Maybe I'm a screamer. Maybe when I get angry, I shout at the top of my lungs. That's my way of doing anger. Maybe when I get angry, I punch things. Maybe my house is full of holes that I've punched in the walls. Because when I get angry, that's what I do. And I'm not obviously condoning any of these. We're just talking about patterns. Maybe when I get angry, I go and I get drunk. Can't handle it, I go to the bar and I get drunk so that I don't punch the walls or scream or do something else. But each one of these things is a habit we have developed. The very first time I decided to go to a bar when I got angry, I thought about it. It wasn't habit. But every time I did it after that, it laid a neural network in such a way that you find yourself, halfway through your 8th shot of something, and you don't even remember walking there from the house. You don't even remember ordering the first shot because it's on autopilot. Now, the more spiritual practice we do, the more aware we become. That's the point. When we say focus on the breath, be aware of the breath, why? You're breathing anyway. Aware of the breath, not aware of the breath, by God's grace, we breathe. Anybody who's tried to meditate and be aware of the breath knows that you can't hold it for very long. But thank God, even when your attention has wandered, you keep breathing. So why would all of these traditions focus on be aware of the breath, be aware of the breath? Watch a candle flame. Chant one word, chant a phrase. Why? Because it trains us. It trains us to actually be aware in the moment. Ah, here I am in this breath. Ah, here I am. Here I am. Here I am. And that ability to be in the moment, not to have checked out, is that which is ultimately going to enable you not to lose yourself. Because when we let our emotions run wild like that, it feels like we weren't there. That's when the next day we end up saying to someone, I'm so sorry, that wasn't me. Well, obviously it was you. I mean, who was it? But it wasn't conscious me. It wasn't present me. It wasn't mindful me. It was programmed, subconscious, autopilot me. Because I wasn't aware and conscious and present and mindful in that moment. So don't berate yourself. You're not a bad person. You're not an unspiritual person. You're a human being. We all lose that consciousness and awareness sometimes. And for some of us, when we lose it, we end up with wild emotions. Some of us, we lose it, we end up in a bar or in someone's bed or whatever it may be, based on what people's patterns are, based on whatever we're all working with individually. You're working with emotions. Great. Keep working with them. And practice in every minute and every moment how mindful you can be. Not just in your meditation. Do mindful walking. Do mindful eating. Whatever you're doing, bring the awareness to it. Here we are. This moment. Just keep coming back. Set alarms on your phone to go off every 15 minutes and remind you just, before you eat or drink anything. Take a moment, connect. Align lots of moments of your day, things you do a lot of the time. If you drive a lot, set it every time before you turn the ignition in the car. If you send a lot of emails, every time before you hit send or before you hit, open inbox. Whatever it may be that you do a lot of. Just set up a pattern that before you do that, you take a moment and you come back to the moment. And what you'll find slowly is, in those moments where your emotions are about to run wild because your conscious mind has gone somewhere else, you come back. You may find yourself coming back halfway through a scream, and you're able to actually grab it, like halfway through your mouth. That's great. Next time you'll grab it as your mouth begins to open. The time before that, you'll grab it just as you're about to open your mouth. Slowly, you'll be able to grab it because you're aware of it. When you start seeing it coming from off in the distance, you start to feel it, you start to notice that your sense of inner awareness gets more and more subtle and more refined, so you start to notice, vibrating with an energy that's going to explode in a little while. Like, I feel it. You start to feel it rising in you. You notice it. Look at that. I've been triggered. How interesting. You take a deep breath. Take a walk. Take a shower. Meditate. Whatever you need to do. Exhale. And make a different choice. And it'll happen. It'll absolutely happen. Great. Yeah, last question.
Hello. Actually, my name is Shreya. I came from Hyderabad. 2 months back, while my internship was going on, I got across your podcast, Take Back Your Mind, with Michael Backward. So ever since that moment, I had this thing that I wanted to meet you in person. And finally, today when I saw you at the Ganga Aarti, it was like really profound moment. And I wanted to ask you something in Arabic. There is a term which means maktub. It says it's written.
Can you bring the mic a little closer to your mouth? Yeah, thank you.
Okay, in Arabic, there is a word which means maktub. It means it's written. Everything is already written, entire life
Yes,
and everything. And then there is a concept which says manifestation. Like your life right now. It's all manifestation of whatever you have thought and everything. So, like, is it like maktub or manifestation like that? And when it comes to manifestation, it's like continuous patterns.
Yeah.
We need to break those patterns and all. Like, is everything written?
Okay. So, when we think about things being written, things being predestined, predetermined, there's a bit of a misunderstanding around that, because when most of us think of it, we think of it as though it were somehow written thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, some other era in the cosmic world by God, just sort of randomly this thing was written, and there's a book floating around in the sky somewhere that's determining my life. Now, things do determine our life. Things do get written. But not because they're being written randomly in the cosmos thousands and thousands of years ago. They're being written based on what you do. Your own karma, your own action, is what is writing your destiny. So is it written? Yes. Who wrote it? You did. Do you have the power to write something new? Absolutely. Can you rewind history? No. Can you unwrite what you already wrote? No. But is this very moment the beginning of a new chapter? Yes. So here we are, because it's been written. Every one of us, in a different way, different reasons, different life paths. But it has been predestined. Every one of us is predestined to have been here. Whether it was for you it was a few months ago. You heard a podcast that I did a few months ago. For someone else, it may be that their grandparents came to this ashram and they've been coming for 40 years, every Christmas time, every winter holiday for 40 years. So it was written in a life pattern that began before they were even born. For somebody else, maybe it was written half an hour ago as they sat on the banks of Ganga in the Arati and weren't sure what they were going to do after the Arati and heard the announcement about Satsang and decided to come. It's been written for each of us in different ways. But every one of us, it was predetermined to be here. Was the pre from a past life, from earlier in this life, from 10 minutes ago? Varies. From this moment, though, you are writing your future. Now, yes, of course, there are some karmas, some actions that have not yet borne fruit. You can think of them as seeds that you've planted in your garden a long time ago that eventually are going to come to harvest. You can't unplant them. So there will be seeds and fruits and harvests that will eventually sprout because of things that you planted in the past. But you also now get to plant anything you want. From this moment on, whatever you want to have in your future, and by future I mean 10 minutes from now, I mean tomorrow, I mean next year, I mean 40 years from now, we're writing it all now. This is why sadhana. This is why introspection and contemplation. It's why we benefit from a guru or wise people or mentors at least, who can help us plant the right seeds that are going to flower in the right ways for what it is that we're looking to achieve in our life, to manifest in our life. Because yeah, it is manifestation. But what are you going to manifest? That's up to you. Many, many, many things are possible. These days we're given a little bit of a myth that anything is possible, which is not exactly true. But lots of things are possible. And you've got so many avenues open and pathways open. I mean, from here, you could go and you could sit on the banks of Ganga and you could meditate and have an extraordinarily beautiful experience of self, of awakening. You could go into the market, you could buy a bunch of blankets and jackets, and you could give them to the poor people, to the homeless people. You could go and sit somewhere and write a beautiful poem or a song. Or you could go sit in a bar and get drunk. Totally up to you. But the choice you make is the of that which is predestined for you in the future. Each of those things is planting seeds of future. So you ask yourself, what do I want to manifest? And then you move in that direction. It's quite simple. It's not easy, but it is quite simple. Beautiful. I'm so glad you're here. Welcome. Glad you made it. Have a beautiful, beautiful rest of your evening, everyone. There will not be satsang tomorrow. We are having a bit of a special event in the Ganga Arati tomorrow that is still a bit of a secret, so I can't tell you all what it is. But I can tell you that it's going to be a beautiful special event. We have a very special guest coming in the Arati tomorrow. So Arati will be larger, probably a bit longer than normal. So pragmatically, it's not going to work for us to have satsang tomorrow. But I will look so forward to being together day after tomorrow. And I invite and encourage you all to join us in the Arati tomorrow. It'll be very special. And I will see you in satsang day after tomorrow. Have a beautiful, beautiful evening and day. And so much love to you all.